Alright, let's talk a little bit about a movie called Contact. A film that spends more than 2 hours building up to the greatest achievement in human history. But when that moment finally arrives, it's more interested in faith and belief than in the actual aliens themselves. Still, as a child, I loved the film, and now I finally understand why. Contact is a movie from 1997 by Warner Brothers, and it's directed by Robert Zemeckis, a director you might know from my favorite movie of all time, Back to the Future. But he also has many other classics on his name, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Flight, Castaway, Wilson. So yeah, it's a director with a lot of well-known movies behind his name. I think Contact lands somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's top 3, maybe not even top 5, but I also think it's not bottom of the barrel. The movie has a lot of qualities, and the movie shows those qualities in a bit of a weird way, but I'll get to that later in the film. Like I said, it's a movie that I really enjoyed when I was a child, but also when I was a child, the ending was really disappointing to me. After 2 hours of build-up, I just wanted to see some aliens, and I didn't get that. Well, yeah, you got some aliens, but not in the way that you were hoping for, at least that I was hoping for. So I just want to zoom in on why I still enjoyed the film so much, even though the ending was such a disappointment to me back in the day. And like I said, I figured out why, I think. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, to me, that has very little to do with the ending, which is very decisive. You either love it or you hate it. Personally, I think what's more of a problem is the idea that the movie tries to sell you a film about aliens and contact, and in the end delivers a movie about faith and religion. It feels like the story is fighting itself a little bit because of that. The filmmakers knew what the issue was, and it really feels like they are preparing the audience throughout the entire film for what's about to come in the ending. And they just do that in a very forced and unsubtle way, to the point that I'm actually cringing at some of the scenes. It really has some bad small plot lines and scenes, that really weren't necessary to add the religious stuff. They're pushing it and rubbing it in your face so much, and it's not even necessary because they prove that they can do it in a very subtle way. Like if we look at Ellie's character arc, Ellie is the main character of the film, played by Jodie Foster, and she represents like science and technology, at least in her adult phase. She has like a love interest, Palmer, played by Matthew McConaughey. He's a very religious guy, and he like represents faith and religion. And even though they try to connect, they're a contrast to each other. But if you look at Ellie's motivation, you see that actually everything she does is really motivated by faith as well. And in the climax, the ending of the story, she has an experience that's 100% real to her, but it cannot be proven to others. And thus, the story goes full circle. But I'll be honest, some people might want it to succeed because we now know what's behind her motivation. But as a kid, I just wanted her to succeed because she was asking the exact questions that I wanted answers to. And now we're getting to the good stuff. Because we all wonder what's out there. How big the universe is, how insignificant we are, and whether we're alone. I love movies that play with these ideas. So a film like Arrival or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they are high on my list of personal favorites. But what Contact does different from these films is that it keeps the audience completely in the unknown until like the final stretch of the film. No flying saucers, no aliens playing music songs or visions. It's all about the wonder and what might happen next. And I think Ellie, but also at times the movie itself, perfectly embodies that feeling of wonder. Especially the first half of the film, from the moment Ellie makes first contact until the point of no return, the moment they decide to build the machine. To give you a bit of an idea of that feeling of wonder, I want to zoom in on the conflict scene, the moment Ellie makes first contact. At that point, the movie has taken quite some time to build everything up. We know about her mother, we know about her father, we know her motivation, and pretty much about everything that's going on in her life. To me, the scene kind of echoes the flashback in which her father dies, going from very silent and intimate to chaotic and life-changing. It's a shift in momentum that actually fits what's happening on screen at that moment. Because from that point on, the editing, sound mixing, the acting, the directing, everything comes together. And for a few scenes, it just looks like you're watching a Michael Bay movie in an office setting. It just all comes together perfectly. And what's so interesting about this is we're not reacting to the signal. You know, it's a radio sound, nothing really special, but we are reacting to the feeling of wonder with the actors and the emphasis that's being given to the moment by the filmmakers. We are subconsciously directed to be filled with wonder, not by the signal, but by what it means. And I think these scenes are truly a masterclass in filmmaking for how to get the audience on the edge of their seat and how to direct the audience into a certain feeling. And that's the trick that Concept keeps pulling until they find out that the signal contains instructions for a machine. And at that moment, the movie shifts its focus from what's out there to should we answer and what are the consequences if we do. Which also speaks to the imagination, but that feeling of wonder is carried less by the performances and more by moral, ethical and philosophical viewpoints. So, Contact, a movie that works on such a large scale, works best when you zoom in all the way on the moments that lean on the imagination of the audience the most. Because Contact isn't creating excitement through answers, it creates excitement through the possibilities of what things mean and what answers they might lead to. And I think that's the reason why I loved this movie ever since I was a kid. I want to touch on the performances just a little bit. Let's start with Jodie Foster as Ellie. Ellie is a fantastic character with a very interesting character arc. And I think Jodie does an amazing job, as always, in portraying her. You know, Jodie always has her heart on her sleeve. She plays a very vulnerable character that's also very strong and doesn't rely on anybody. Completely sold the character to me, and I think her performance really adds to, you know, that feeling of wonder I was talking about. You really need an actor who is able to translate that to the audience, and she does a great job in it. I also want to talk about Matthew McConaughey. This movie is from 1997. Now, we know Matthew as a very charming guy who's able to create a lot of chemistry on screen. And yeah, you can already see that in this film. He just has lots of charm. He acts great. The chemistry with Ellie is there from the first scene. And it's really fun to see the two on screen and how they a little bit of play with each other. You know, I always think about the scene in the White House. I believe it's in the White House, where Ellie is there for some advice, and all of a sudden there is Palmer as the religious guide of the president, and how they tease each other in that room, like, you know, and they haven't seen each other for, what is it, like 4 years or anything. It was a very fun scene, and it really shows the chemistry between the two. The last performance I want to touch upon is Tom Skerritt. He plays like the in-between guy between Ellie and the government. He has a lot of heart for Ellie. He wants her to succeed in life, but then again, he doesn't believe in her dreams and her goals. So, you know, it's like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He takes away the funding for her project because he thinks it's in her best interest. It's an interesting character because it's not, you know, once again, it's a little bit in the gray area. It's not just Disney, black and white, good guy, bad guy. And I always appreciate when that's the case. Doesn't end well for him, as we know, but yeah, at least he stood for what he stood for. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the look and feel of Contact. I think I mentioned it earlier that, you know, when you're like inside, it sometimes feels like you're watching a Michael Bay film, so dynamic, so layered. And also in the outside shots, it's very layered and very interesting to look at. It has lots of close-ups, lots of expressions. You also really get to see that, you know, there's heavy influence from like a Spielberg. They're kind of the same age, and I think Spielberg was a bit of a mentor to Zemeckis back in the day, so makes sense. I think I also mentioned that the movie shows some of its qualities in a bit of a weird way. There's two examples. You know, it's not weird, but it stands out. The opening animation. The movie starts with like a 2, maybe even 3 minute long animation where we zoom through space. It really emphasizes how insignificant we are here on Earth. Especially back in the day, you know, YouTube wasn't filled with a million of these videos, so it was really a unique look at how small we really are. And I always remember that this scene, and also the final scene in Men in Black, where we also zoom through space and everything ends up being inside like one marble in a bag full of marbles that aliens are using to play a game of marbles. I think that scene and this one as a child really spoke to my imagination. So when the movie starts, you're already in that whoa vibe. And then like a few minutes later, we get the famous or infamous mirror shot scene. It's like a shot during the flashback in which her father dies. She runs up the stairs to grab the medicine. We follow her running through the hallway, and then the shot ends up coming out of a mirror from like a bathroom, small little cabinet. And imagine watching this in the cinemas in 1997. I can imagine that it would have taken like a few minutes of what the fuck just happened after you'd see that shot. Because, you know, even now in 2026, when I look at it, I find it very hard to understand how they did it. You can see how they did it. There's videos on YouTube explaining it, and it's very cool. But still, you know, it's a very interesting trick. But it's very weird that all of a sudden this happens, you know? It makes, at least I don't really see the reason why they did it other than that it's cool. Honestly, it's a bit distracting, and especially in a very emotional moment, it's a bit of a odd choice, to be honest. But that's what I meant with that it shows that it has lots of qualities in a bit of a weird way. The second half of the film relies a lot more on like CGI and special effects, and I think they held up great. The movie is almost 30 years old, but you know, when we're seeing like the machine in the distance, or we see the special effects when she actually travels with the machine, it holds up very well. Of course, it's not the best thing you can see right now, but still, you know, it sells the experience. So yeah, overall, I really enjoy Contact. I can watch it as much as I want. I think I'll watch it many more times if I get the chance, of course. It has great acting, lots of chemistry between the actors. The visuals are great. The moments that really make impact really speak to your imagination. I love the feeling of wonder that the movie gives you. It's one of those movies that you watch them and the days after you can just keep on thinking about it. What if, you know? And yeah, it's just a great experience with great actors by great filmmakers. The whole religion aspect is a bit annoying at some parts because it's just so in your face. But you know, if you look at it from a story aspect, you know, the story does go full circle. And if you don't mind the whole religious aspect, and you don't mind that the movie starts off as like, we're gonna see aliens, and it ends up like, oh, like some religious experience. If you don't mind that, then it's a great film in that regard as well, because you know, it really makes you think, and it's the way that religion is implemented into the characters and their motivation and stuff, that's done really well. So yeah, I think that's my opinion on Contact. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, I cannot thank you enough. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this classic, whether you think it's a classic as well, whether you hate it, what you think about the religious aspect. Were you expecting some more of like aliens in the end, or did you see it coming? Just let me know in the comments. And once again, thank you for watching. I hope to see you during the next video. Have a great day. Bye.